Today, we will discuss retail media in a very interesting market, New Zealand. Alex Lawson is the head behind market media at the Warehouse Group, the largest retailer in the country. Alex and his team built a retail media network anchored in physical stores across New Zealand. And the results speak for themselves, 24 to 28% sales uplift from in-store advertising. Now he's taking it out of home with digital billboards. Today we are talking about why in-store is the most underrated media channel in retail. Here's Paula Macadi, and this is episode 122 of my show. Welcome to OFFBounds. Alex, welcome to OFFBounds. So great to be here in Singapore with you.
Thank you. Yeah, wonderful to be in Singapore and wonderful to be here with you guys.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's funny because we're in Singapore, but you are British and you live in New Zealand. And I'm Brazilian, so it's like quite an eventful and global aspect of this interview.
We're a confusing pair.
Yeah, right. But I'm very interested in, our audience are mostly in the West, where we both come from. And we are here talking about retail in APAC. That's basically the reason we are here, right? For NRF APAC. There's so many differences. First, tell me, how did you end up in New Zealand coming from the UK?
So my journey to New Zealand is a really well-trodden path. I married a New Zealander.
Okay.
And I'd always wanted to live somewhere outside of the UK. So it was either going to be Australia or America, and I married a Kiwi. So we ended up 20 years ago packing our bags from London, ending up in Auckland, New Zealand, where I've been for the last 20 years. And I spent most of my career to date has been in advertising agencies and media agencies and publishers and stuff like that. And I've actually only been in retail for the last 6 years when I joined the Warehouse Group in New Zealand. So
and there's another journey too, yeah.
Yeah. Going client side from agency side and going into retail. And I'd had retail clients before, so I had some knowledge of retail. And I worked on Boots the Chemist in the UK as my first experience of retail. And then when I got into New Zealand, one of my first clients was actually Noel Leeming, which now is part of the Warehouse Group, but at the time was its own business. It hadn't joined the group yet, and I had them as a client and did some other kind of bits and pieces. But the last 6 years has just been a real roller coaster ride of learning and understanding how retail actually works, but still with that kind of marketing and media lens over the top of it.
Well, and I think that's what differentiates you from anybody, right? That's what you do. But before we get into what you actually do, why don't you help us understand what is the Warehouse Group and a little bit about the market, I guess, that you operate?
Sure. So the Warehouse Group is essentially three main brands. The Warehouse, or as they're ubiquitously known in New Zealand, the Big Red Sheds, which is kind of like a Walmart style, general goods, very much focused on value.
But is this grocery or is everything?
Mostly general goods. We have a grocery section. It's not like you wouldn't come to the Warehouse and do your weekly shop, but you would stock up pantry staples and sort of value products within that line. We're known for a lot of clothing, a lot of kids' clothing, toys. We're the largest toy retailer in the country, books, chemist, kind of pharmacy stuff. All that kind of thing goes into the Warehouse.
The daily life of the Kiwis.
Think Walmart, right? It's Walmart in New Zealand. We then have Noel Leeming, which is a consumer electronics brand, very much a kind of Best Buy, Good Guys, kind of Currys out of the UK would be a good kind of comparison. And then Warehouse Stationery, which is like an Office Max, Staples kind of, thing. And those three brands make up the group, and the group is it's one of the largest retail groups in the country, and we have a national coverage.
How many stores, if you like?
Is about 100 and I'm going to get this wrong, about 166 stores.
Just for us to understand, if it's like 110,000.
Yeah, about 160 odd stores across the country, and, from top to bottom. And I like to always say that pretty much everybody in the country visits a Warehouse or a warehouse group store every month. I reckon you can meet the Prime Minister or you can meet a beneficiary in our stores. And they're that sort of real egalitarian consumer. Like everybody goes there at some point for something. Like you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who doesn't go to the warehouse.
And how is the market there in terms of digital penetration? Is the online a big part of the business?
So, I mean, online and e-commerce is challenged in New Zealand, and there's a few reasons for that. So we do it. A lot of people do it. Yeah, the supermarkets do it, but everybody's online is pretty. It's a smaller part of the business. There are some online-only retailers who are operating, but the supply chain and delivering in New Zealand is a challenge. So we don't have Amazon DC in the country yet. So if you order something, it's going to take a little while to get to you because we're spread out. The delivery
distribution,
network,
there's not much density, right? What's the population?
Population is 5.6 million.
And the area that is as big as UK.
Yeah, geographically the same as UK, and it's longer.
Yeah.
So, people don't realize how big New Zealand is in terms of how long it takes you to get somewhere. So to go from Auckland to Wellington, which is kind of like Auckland's about 80% up the North Island, Wellington's at the bottom. That's like a 10-hour drive to get there. It's a long way. It takes time. And then you've still got the same again to get to Dunedin at the bottom of the country. So just getting goods around the country can be challenging and that kind of thing. So, e-commerce definitely there, definitely a factor. But I would say most New Zealanders, if they're shopping for stuff in the country, they're going into stores, and stores are still a really big part of our offering and the New Zealand shopping offering as a whole. They're an important part of our makeup.
Yeah, it's a big part of the country, the society as in general, right?
Yeah, it's still a physical purchase kind of arena. It's not to say that we don't do it. There's definitely plenty, and we.
It's just not comparable to what we see in the UK because of the reasons we talked about.
No, and it forces you to do things a little bit differently, right?
Yeah,
so you have to operate a little bit differently because it's a different customer makeup and a different customer experience that you're offering.
Yeah, but that's very interesting because we're talking about different market, different perspective, and you are there leading retail media. How does that work for the group, knowing now what the context that we have in the market?
Yeah, so our retail media offering, it's been around now for about 3.5 to 4 years.
It's about the time that everybody's trying to figure that out too, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. We've had some, Cartology out of the Woolworths group, a big supermarket group, has been around longer. They were probably the first proper retail media network in the country. And then obviously, 10 years ago, Amazon were the ones who started this whole thing off and kind of turning what used to be the trade marketing budgets into retail media and then growing from there and all the other factors that come into it. But ours started about 4 years ago, and we started off thinking, look, let's focus online and look at sponsored products and banners and stuff like that. But pretty quick, we worked out that for us, for our type of business in our market, like we just talked about, right? The small e-com, we are not a supermarket, so we don't have a high propensity of online orders, and we go across a variety of categories. So we're a multi-category retailer. So for us, we said, well, actually, whilst the online is important, the in-store experience from a retail media perspective is really important as well. So we invested early into digital screens, invested early and took over thinking about how we can execute POS and physical in-store, literally putting things on the floor and decals and stuff like that. So that was a factor of how that could keep coming and providing those customer experiences in the physical world. And then it really forced us to look at not only the endemic clients, so the supplier brands that you sell, but the non-endemics and how we could activate those guys. So, the airlines, the banks, the government.
Hey, if the whole population goes to your store in the daily basis or the monthly basis, there's no better thing to do.
It's a valuable audience, right? So we recognized that we actually had a valuable media channel audience, and it was how do we then activate that audience for the benefit of advertisers in a way still, though, that if we were taking a non-endemic brand into one of our stores, it had to show up in a way that wasn't jarring to our consumers and brought the types of values of those brands that the consumers would expect. So, there's obviously some things that we didn't take, categories that we said we're not going to play in that zone.
Yeah, because I think it's part of the customer experience to think about the content that they're going to be consuming in the store, right? Like you can't just be randomly putting things there that are completely out of context.
No, but I mean, what we look at is saying that customer who comes into a store is already in a shopping mindset. So they're already open to those kind of messages. So I like to think that the retail environment is actually quite a powerful advertising medium because, if you're watching TV or walking around the streets, those advertising mediums of outdoor or TV or online or whatever, they have power and they have impact, but a lot of the time you're kind of trying to get past them. You're like, oh, don't interrupt my program, or let's move past so I can watch my video or whatever it is. In a retail environment, you're already shopping, so you're open to those commercial messages.
Your wallet
subconsciously.
is open, let's say.
Well, hopefully, yes. Hopefully it is. So I like to think there's a real value for both the endemic brands, because you can literally pick up that brand. If you see it, you can buy it. Or the non-endemic brands, just because of the way that it'll enter that brain a little bit better and a little bit with a little bit more impact, I like to think.
And how was selling it? Because we've talked a lot about retail media here in the podcast, but I think it always goes to the CPG brands selling to supermarkets. We never had a case like yours, so I wonder, it kind of needed to educate different brands that was valuable. How was this process?
It's an interesting process to go through because you got to look at it from a number of different lenses, and all those lenses need a different approach, right? So, when you're talking to some of the supplier brands, so we do deal with CPG brands and stuff like that, and they're much more kind of used to it and much more kind
it's part of their business, yeah.
It's the way that it operates in the supermarkets and all that kind of stuff. And to an extent, a lot of the consumer electronic brands are kind of in that space as well. So they have trade marketing dollars, and if you're activating the trade marketing dollars, you're normally dealing with a trade marketing team, and they're pretty kind of used to that as well. Where it starts to get a little bit more interesting is when you're dealing with brands that either don't have a trade marketing team and you're dealing directly with like an account manager or a product manager or something like that, who's been given a budget and they're like, I don't know what to do with this budget. Can you please
I had that problem.
Yeah, I have to spend this money, but I don't really know what I need to do with it. So it's a real education piece, and it's a handhold, and it's really gaining the trust and sort of saying, hey, we're not just trying to take this money away from you. We're actually trying to invest this money in a way that brings it all the way back to sell more products. So you're going to get more orders from us as a store. That's kind of what we want. We want to drive that retail flywheel.
And there's no agency in the middle of this?
No, we have it. We're all in-house. So we do everything. Our sales team work directly with those suppliers, and they work on a one-to-one basis kind of thing with them to help them do that. Where it gets you have to pivot again is when you're talking to the non-endemic guys, and a lot of the time you're trying to get into the brand budget, so you're away from the trade budgets and you're into a completely different bucket. You're dealing with people who, this is what they do for a living, right? They buy media, they plan media, they negotiate it. They have a very different set of rules and ways of playing than in the trade area, where you're probably competing against maybe some of your competitors in terms of other brands. But if you're the market leader, like we are in some of those areas, you're actually not competing that much for that budget. It's more about sort of helping them invest it in the wisest way. When you're dealing with non-endemics, you're dealing with media agencies, you're in a fight for that budget up against, JC.co or QMS in an outdoor space, or your TV stations or YouTube and Google and Meta and people like that, right? So you have to pivot, and you have to have people who understand that world, understand how to sell in it. And so it's really important that you have the skill sets and you're not trying to go one size fits all, because one size doesn't fit all in that sense. So having those different skills and the different people, and they know the knowledge and the experience, is really key for that, because it's very different. It's two very different ways.
Like, I think your life never gets boring. You always have a new challenge to find a way to feed the business into.
I don't think retail is ever boring.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's not just retail media.
I've never had anybody here that came like, we have nothing to do.
No, retail is always a challenge, and it's always there's always something new to think about. Like, we've been seeing around here, just going around stores and doing store tours and listening to everybody at the conference and things like that. There's always something new on the horizon in retail.
And how has that been for you, coming from an agency to build like a business model that is quite new? For everybody, you're right. Like, what was the big difference for you?
Oh, there have been so many.
How many things you figured out? I can't believe you.
I was talking to somebody else about this today, and I was saying, coming from the agency world into the retailer, I think it took 12 to 18 months just to kind of go, I'm starting to understand how this business works, right? They're complex beasts. And from the outside, you only see maybe 5-10% of it, even if you're working with that retailer as a client and all that kind of stuff. And it's only when you get into the other side that you can start to understand all the pressures that are there, all the different bits that make up the challenge of retail. And then when you start to bring in retail media, and you have to, the first 6 to 12 months is an education of your own people. It's not even really starting to think outside of the organization. You're starting to educate your ELT and your board about why you should be investing in this area and what that means. And no, it's not an instant river of gold. There's some work to do and some investment.
So you were not brought in to build this, like you.
I wasn't originally.
Oh, okay.
I came in as within part of the marketing team.
And then you saw the opportunity and you had to get the buy-in.
Yeah, we were asked to go look at it and sort of develop it. There was a couple of us, and we went away and we came up with the plan for it, and came back and had to sell it to the board and to go, this is why we think it's going to be a big thing, and this is why you should be releasing CapEx to us, and why you should be letting us go out and spend a lot of money on screens and things like that and disrupting our stores. So, but you have to take everybody on the journey. So not only your board, not only your ELT and your CEO and your CFO and all those kind of people, but then you have to really think about how you're bringing your buyers, your merchandisers on that journey too, because they see it, as a threat, and they're like, well, you're trying to take this budget over here that I controlled, and you're trying to steal that and just move it over there. And you're like, no, I'm trying to do something different with it, which is going to power that flywheel, and you're going to sell more product at the end of it. So you're going to make your targets, and we're going to make our targets,
and we're all going to have more revenue and more money, more budget.
That's the goal, right? And then you have to educate your suppliers on an external basis and everybody else. So it's a kind of continuing thing, but you just learn so much along the way. Like, when I joined the group, I never thought that I would be thinking about, can I get a pallet on a fork truck past that screen if I put that screen in that location? Or why can't I put that screen there? Oh, it's because you need to stock this thing and that needs that much space, or there's a fire exit down there. It's just stuff that as an ad person, you're like, this isn't what I think about.
Yeah, but it is. Of course, the operations of a store is something that it's very hard, and like it needs some technique, and like there's so much data and so much insights that you have to have before doing that. So I guess it was a lot of learning from all sides on how to manage that.
It's just stuff that as a marketing and an ad person for 20 odd years, you just don't come across. And now you have to fit your world into that world, right? So you're constantly adapting and constantly learning. And we learned so many things along the way, and we made mistakes, and we put a load of screens in, and then I spent 6 months going around stores moving them all because we put them in the wrong place. So stuff like that, and learning and going, okay, I should have listened to you and maybe not you so much, and that kind of thing. But you don't make success without making mistakes along the way and learning from them. So
of course, and like it's not something that you had other business cases to look at and learn from before, right? Like
not really. We're one of the first to certainly within the market to go in some of the directions we went in. There are other people doing similar things in some areas to us, but there were other areas that we kind of forged a path with, and we're pretty proud about that. And now we're in different spaces and trying to push again. But that kind of goes back to our market, right? And one of the things we talked about yesterday was necessity is the mother of invention. And in New Zealand, you have to be inventive because you're dealing with a small market with a lot of challenges, and it's not like Walmart where you can just go, hey, if we switch that on, it's going to be a really nice little passive income stream. And there's actually there's a lot of work behind that, but hey, it's relatively straightforward for people to get their heads around. In New Zealand, you very much have to kind of go, this is a pivot thinking kind of moment, and if we do this, then we think this will work, but we're taking a risk, and you guys have to come along the risk and on that ride with us. And that plays out in many ways in New Zealand. There's a saying called number 8 wire thinking. And number 8 wire is it's a wire used on farms, in fences and things like that. But it got really famous in New Zealand because people would fix things with number 8 wire the whole time.
Yeah.
If something broke, you didn't just buy a new one, you had to fix it. And so fixing it with this wire kind of leads to this saying of New Zealand is all about number 8 wire thinking. So it's like doing things a little bit differently, or doing them ourselves, not relying on others because you don't have those people to rely on. Right?
Yeah.
So,
it's a different ecosystem completely.
Yeah. So, and that flows through the whole psyche of the country. So everybody's quite up for that normally, and they're up for that kind of challenge. But it definitely, being in retail media at this time just forces you to think differently the whole time. Like there is no playbook really, because we can't operate the same playbook, even as somebody in Singapore could operate. Their playbook is different to our playbook.
Completely, yeah.
Even Australia and New Zealand, like we're different markets, different scales. They can do things that we can't. We can do things that they can't.
And I think like in the West, and that I would say like Europe and North America at least, and even South America, I would say, because I got a perspective too. I don't think they're that different, but I think APAC, it is so much more diverse, and markets are very distinct from each other. So it's very hard to have a one size fits all for the region. So it's very interesting to learn your perspective. If you could go back in time to when you were starting to figure things out, what would you have done different?
Probably the biggest thing I would have done differently is I would have gone out into our stores and really talked to all our store managers and staff about where we should put our screens. That's probably because they knew. And when we went back and talked to them, I was just like, oh, you guys really get it. You understand it. And we should have probably done that. So that's a little hindsight learning. I think we would have thought about being more of an owner of our technology versus a partner organization maybe, but at the time it was the right way for us to do it and to get it over the line. Now we're becoming more of that kind of build versus not rent, but
be the proprietary
from the start and invest in it with the capex rather than trying to make it all opex. But it was a different time. We were coming out of COVID. Money wasn't there to spend, so
and it was a early experiment for everyone.
You had to be a little bit more inventive with how you got things through, so you went different pathways. But
so now you have your own tech behind the
I mean, we always had our own stack. Things like, owning some of the infrastructure that we put in and owning some of the physical assets a bit more. We always kept the sales functionality in-house. We said that was really crucial right from the start, to have the people and have that IP that sits with it, and the relationships that we had. We didn't want anybody else to come in and take a relationship with a supplier or something like that. That was really important for us. But there were other things like platforms and stuff like that we partnered with, and now it's thinking more about how we kind of take more ownership of those kind of areas.
And I think it's very nice that your retail media strategy was more store-oriented, because I think now you keep talking about how the agentic commerce might kill retail media because agents might shop for us online and not be directly attracted to your promotions and etc. So I think that doesn't affect the store purchase.
Oh, look, I mean, that's a can of worms, right? We can open that. I mean,
we don't know.
I have a fairly strong opinion on the potential threat around agentic commerce and stuff like that.
If you want to share with us.
I mean,
you just can just leave that.
Look, I've been in media and advertising for 25 years. I've seen this is the death of, this is the new tech, which is going to completely change everything that's come along in those 25 years and before. And hey, we're still watching TV. We're still reading newspapers, actually.
We just have more channels, I guess.
We just have more choice. And I think if you listen to some of the people out there, and I've had some really interesting discussions in the last couple of days around agentic commerce and that kind of stuff. And yes, there's definitely people who are going to use it, and there's markets that might pick it up more than others, but there is also a human element to shopping. And I'm certainly not about to give an AI my credit card and tell it to go and buy stuff for me and trust it, because
I will.
Everything I've done so far, when I've gone through and I've done little things where I've gone, okay, tell me about all of these products, cross-reference them, which one should I buy, find me the best deal, there's always a mistake in it at the moment. So I would never end up with what I want. So I don't trust it yet. And I think human nature will prevail here, and people like shopping. They enjoy it. I mean, some people actually, it's their leisure hobby activity, right? It's not mine, but
but I think I enjoy shopping, and there are times that I want to shop for the convenience of Amazon to deliver next day for me. There are times that I would like to be in the store and spend my time and try everything, and I think there will be times that I don't want to do any of that, so I tell my agent to do. So I think it's not like I'm gonna only shop through my agent. I think we're just gonna have more ways of shopping, and like omni-channel, right? Like the premise is that it's the same consumer that can shop anytime and anywhere. I think it's the same with our agents.
I think it's going to be like category by category. I think there'll be some products that you might be happy to have on a repeat, or just say, yeah, replen that whenever it's kind of, you know the cycle that I'm using it. Like, okay, if I drink one coffee a day, I need a new bottle of oat milk every 5 days. So please sort that out for me, right? Do I want it buying all my clothes? Maybe not.
Well, we'll see.
Maybe it should.
I'm loving that we are all guessing, because I got all these episodes documenting our guests. One day we're gonna look like remember what we used to think.
Yeah. And look, nobody wants to be the guy that said the internet wasn't going to be a thing, right?
Yeah.
Go down in history.
We're all looking at the future, but we never can predict, right? Like, we wouldn't predict that we would be having this conversation a year ago, I guess.
I think, if I was being completely realistic, I think that AI and agentic is going to be a massive thing in the back end and the engine room of retail, and the engine room of, like, I've seen some great stuff already here around, making sure the shelves stay stocked with the right products and all that kind of thing. I'm less bullish on, is this going to change the way that we purchase stuff dramatically in my lifetime? I mean, maybe it will in time, who knows? But I'm not 100% convinced right now.
Fair enough. We'll see. And talking about the future, what is next for your team and New Zealand in general for your business?
So, I mean, within New Zealand, I think we just have to keep innovating. We're already pushing up against the boundaries of what everybody's doing in
You're
terms
going
of
off bounds.
taking audience segmentation, first party data, how we're kind of looking at that and moving that through into the next stage. I think if you were asking me about like where I see retail media, I think retail media in many ways, for the ones that want to keep evolving and keep doing well, they're going to be thinking less about being retailers operating media and being media channels that build their audience via retail. So I think you're going to see a lot more retailers really push into what was traditionally the media channel space. Out of home is the obvious one for a lot of retailers. We have great footprints that, get a lot of traffic of people coming to them for specific reasons that we're probably not utilizing as much as we could. And I think that's going to be a big thing. Who knows where retailers can go with content? And already you see in the States, some of those partnerships with like the likes of Walmart and people tying up with the Disneys and Hulus, etc., and that kind of stuff pushing through. And brands are already playing in that space massively, right? Tying into content. So I think retailers are going to do the same. So I think, you're going to see a lot of people pushing past what the expected is as a retailer and challenging a few of the old school status quo kind of things and making some people uncomfortable, which is great, right? It's going to be fun.
All right. Alex, it was so insightful. I hope one day I can go to New Zealand and see with my own eyes. And thank you so much for sharing your perspective and your work. It's definitely something very inspiring for the rest of the world.
Oh, please come down. We are a very welcoming country and we'll show you around and we'll show you the world of New Zealand retail happily if you want to come and spend some time with us down at the bottom of the world.
I can't wait. Thank you so much.
Cool, no problem. Thank you.